Welcome to the Safety Net with Kendell Lenice. This is a talk show where you can feel safe to share your truth. After all, we've all been through something. We all have a story to tell. Our testimonies are never for us. They're to help and inspire others to think bigger, do better, to become wiser. Through our stories and testimonies, we can help each other heal, grow, and learn from our past mistakes in order to have a brighter and better future. It's not what you've been through, it's what you've grown through. This is the safety net. I got you. Our live show starts now.
It is Kendell Lenice, and welcome to the Safety Net. This is a safe place where my guests come on and share their truth. Now, this is the Safety Net, the virtual edition. We are in season 2, and this is episode 2 of the Safety Net. So I created the Safety Net, and it's a face-to-face interview series, if you will, or talk show, better yet. And it's about my guests coming on and helping people with what they've gone through. Because anything that you've gone through, it is your testimony, and it's never for you to just hold to yourself. Telling your story allows other people to heal as well as you. And I always say it's not what you go through, it's what you grow through. And I'm so excited to have my amazing guest on today. And I like to call all my guests amazing. So if you'll see that trend with me, because I like to celebrate people and their stories and give them their flowers while they're still here. So this guest is like no other. She's near to my heart. Her name is René Michelle. And René Michelle is a domestic violence advocate, I would say. And we'll go in further of what she does and what she's been through. But before I get started, I want to welcome René Michelle. Now, she's been a part of my women's conference. She's been on my other platforms sharing her story. She is the truth. And not only is she the truth, she has experienced a beautiful transformation. She was a baddie before, but now she's even badder. Welcome, René Michelle, to the Safety Net.
Thank you, sis, so much. I appreciate you having me. You know, I love you. I love you.
And I love you back. And I said, okay, we're going to be talking about domestic violence. That is her story. That is her platform. I mean, she's serious about that thing. She goes across the country talking about domestic violence and being an advocate. But before we get into that, I want to talk about this amazing woman's weight loss journey. I'm going to let her tell you how much weight she has lost and how she lost it. All right, René Michelle, you're looking about 10 years younger. Tell the people, if you don't mind, how old you are, and tell the people about this weight loss journey, how much you lost, why you thought it was important to lose that weight.
Well, actually, I have lost, altogether, I lost 117 pounds.
Wowzer. Look, you made my lighting fall.
Yeah, and I mean, I was actually 329 pounds, and I gained the weight due to I was taking care of my dad. I'm sure you probably remember when I went through that period where my dad was dying of cancer. He had dementia, prostate cancer, and COPD. So, and I was his caregiver for the 4 years that he dealt with it up until his death. So during that process, I was eating. That was how I was an emotional eater. So I ate and ate. I mean, I had weight on before, but I gained a lot of weight during that process. That's where most of my weight came from. And when my dad got close to the end of his life, he looked at me and he said to me, "Sugar Pie, I need you to do something because I've never seen you this big before. I really need you to take care of yourself." And until that moment, I hadn't even thought about me. I was so focused on making sure he was okay. And in that moment, as Oprah said, I had my aha moment, or whatever you want to call it. And that's when I finally decided, you know, I need to do something to with myself. I need to, I had high blood pressure. I had high cholesterol. I had type 2 diabetes. I was on the verge of having heart disease at that point. And
wow.
I finally did research. I researched every different type of weight loss. I went to all different types of weight loss clinics and, everything. And then I finally made the decision to have the sleeve done, the gastric sleeve. And that's what I did. I did all the research. I had to go through 6 months of nutrition classes. And, once I had all these procedures done and everything, and once I was done, before the surgery, I actually lost 30 pounds on my own, just from the nutrition classes alone. Yeah, I lost the 30 pounds on my own. And then once the surgery was done, it was a slow process. I slowly was losing, a little bit of weight at a time. And now, I'm at my goal weight right now, but I'm comfortable. I no longer have diabetes, high blood pressure, or high cholesterol anymore. So all that is gone.
Wow. You know what? That's simply, that's just fantastic. So you lost 30 pounds on your own before you even had the surgery. Is that something that you were required to do, or is that something that you were moved to do?
It was because of the fact that I've learned how to eat. It's a lifestyle. I learned how to eat properly. So during the nutrition classes, they taught me what was good and what was bad. And I continued, doing that, following it. So, with what they taught me, I lost the 30 pounds. And then I was so happy and excited about it. I started to back out of having the surgery.
Wow.
But then I said, but then I said, you know what? You know who talked me into it to continue to go? Mildred, because she was right there with me. She actually was there with me. Mildred Muhammad.
And we'll talk about her a little later. And that's funny how that's going to bleed into what we're talking about next, with domestic violence.
Right. She was there with me throughout the whole thing. She actually was there with me through my surgery. When I went to sleep, I woke up, she was there. But so it was a great experience. I haven't had any complications or anything. It's just been good, all positive.
Wow. So your father saw you and he was ill and he was in the hospital. And isn't that a father? Wow. He cared about his baby girl's health while he was in the hospital.
Yeah, on his deathbed.
Like his deathbed saying, you know what? I don't want to see you like this anymore, baby girl. You should want better for yourself. I want better for you. And that's a parent to say, you know what, you're bigger than I've ever seen you. I don't know what's going on. I know I might have something to do with it, you caring for me, but I don't want this for you. How important was that for him to say that at that moment? What did that do for you other than give you that motivation?
It saved my life. It saved my life. Like I said, the doctor told me that I was on 3 high blood pressure medications at the time. The doctor told me that I was one step away from having heart disease. So my father saying that to me woke me up. It woke me up, and it actually saved my life. And from that point, I turned around and I just started researching and doing what I needed to do to make that change.
Wow. Well, I'm so excited about that, and excited is my favorite word when I'm doing these series, because I really am. You can tell by my body language. People be like, "You excited?" So I'm like, "That's my word."
Yeah.
But you know what? How beautiful that is. Sincerely, that your father, and he's no longer here, and he, my condolences to you, because I know you loved your daddy, and most importantly, he loved you, and he even expressed that last notion of love to you. Definitely. And that's a wonderful memory to have. Like, I might not be here, but I want you to live on, and not just live on, but I want you to be healthy.
Definitely. That's what he was saying. And like I said, he had dementia, so he was in and out, but he had enough in him left for him to say those words to me. And that's what just gave me my motivation, to do what I needed to do.
Wow. And that has to be comfortable, because you're telling the story now. I'm sure you've told it before. And just to have that in your heart, that's pretty special.
It definitely is. It definitely is, because, we had a lot of good memories, but one thing for sure, I was there with him from the beginning to the end. And, I feel like he's still here with me now. So he sees, he's watching over me now. He sees everything that I've accomplished and everything, so I feel great.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm sure, Renee. So you lost 117 pounds. That's a supermodel, and that's Kyle's. You lost the supermodel. You lost the supermodel.
Exactly. And look, and please believe me, my knees are a perfect example of that too, because they don't hurt anymore. That supermodel is no longer hanging on to this body.
Wow. And that's what I
let her
want
go.
to talk, right. And that's what I want to talk about. But before I let go, I want to talk about how we both have this side ponytail happening.
I know.
I can't go farther
Yeah.
until I acknowledge the important things of this interview.
Yeah, I never really did the front lace thing. My daughter, she's the one that like hit me to it. And I'm like, I'm not that type of wig person. I usually have the purple for one. That's my signature. But desperate times calls for desperate measures. The beauty supply stores are no longer open.
But you look beautiful, and she's absolutely
you.
right. Once you follow her on social media or you see her in person in your town speaking about domestic violence, Renee Michelle will have purple hair. That is her signature color. Go to her social media platforms. You'll see it. But you look, I mean, you really do. And I'm not just saying that to gas you up. You amazing. And you were a pretty woman before, but there's a radiance about you. You're glowing. You really are. And I saw pictures of you that you posted recently on social media. I was like, Papa, who this woman? Like you look 10 years younger.
Yeah, I mean, that's it. That's what it'll do for you. I mean, I feel great. Like I can run up and down steps again now and all that stuff. It's just, it's great. It really is. It really is. And the most important thing is that I'm healthy.
Yes, yes.
Important.
And I was going to ask you did this give you a new lease on life? I know you said you got rid of your medication. You feel healthier, you look better, your skin is glowing. What did this do not only to your health and giving you a lease on life, but your self-esteem? I want to talk about that because I think that's important.
It did a lot because before, I mean, I was always small, and then I out of certain situations I've dealt with, I started gaining the weight or whatever, emotionally eating and everything. So I've known what it's felt like and looked like to be a supermodel or smaller, and then I've experienced being obese, and being obese was like. But honestly, I still felt good about myself. And I really did not see it. I got my hair done, my nails dressed up and everything. And I really didn't see it because like I said, I was so focused on making sure my dad was okay. I didn't realize how big I had gotten. My daughter took videos of me and she shows me now, and I look at them like, oh my God. I can't even believe I had allowed myself to get like that. And,
the camera is always a reality check. The cameras are always a reality check.
Yeah, they definitely. She still shows me videos that she took of me. And I had the nerve on one of them to be eating, like really like digging into this bowl. And I was like, oh my God, don't ever show anybody else this. Don't ever show anybody else this picture, this video. But she said, Mommy, I saved it for this reason, so you can see. And I want you to remember how far you've come.
Wow. That's beautiful.
So,
that's beautiful. Yeah. And sometimes we have to see those pictures, whether they're the mental pictures or the actual physical pictures, to say, okay, I was there. I once was there. And now I'm here. Look at the transformation. I think that really is significant to even what we're roll into, because most of us don't look like what we've been through, and you are one of those people. You don't look like what you've been through because you've had a tumultuous past, but not only that, you've been able to survive from it, and you've been able to learn and grow from it, and most importantly, to advocate for other people and really inspire other people through your story. So on the safety net, I want to really talk about that. I want to talk more about the domestic violence. I definitely want to talk about the weight loss, because that is a transformation. And those of people that are seeing you for the first time, they might not even see the transformation, and then the healing and dealing with your dad, as well as with this domestic violence. So I just want to take a moment and talk about that. So you're a domestic violence advocate.
Yes.
Why did you become an advocate for domestic violence? And I want you to share your story with our viewers.
Okay. Well, my story is it has a lot to do with domestic violence and sexual assault as well. I at an early age was molested. As early as I can remember was 5. I was molested as from the age of 5 all the way up to almost a teenager by family members, several family members. I was raped from the ages, I was raped at the ages of 11, 14, and 26 as well. And then I eventually, you know, around 25, 24, 25, I met this young man, and he was a nice looking young man and everything, you know, really nice and sweet, held the door for you, all of that. And he seemed like a gentleman. When I met him, we started dating for a while, and then about a month or 2 in, he started showing me different signs. And I should have probably recognized them, because I'm also a 2nd generation domestic abuse survivor as well. I grew up watching my mother be abused, so I should have probably knew some of the signs, but I didn't pay attention. But we started talking, and then about 2 months into it, he started becoming very possessive and controlling. He started trying to isolate me. Like, I don't want you around this person. It's something about her I don't like. He started telling me what to wear, what not to wear. And it got to the point where he began to stalk me. I couldn't even go to work. He owned his own business. So he did his work around my hours so he could come to my job, and he would come in my job and sit in my job and watch me. I managed a restaurant and lounge, and anyone that looked or said anything to me for too long, if they looked like they were, you know, like me or anything, he would approach them and he would start a physical altercation with them. I mean, it got to the point where he got barred from my job, and then he started coming back. He started calling my job and telling me to leave the phone off the hook. Now, mind you, I still don't get it after all of this stuff is happening. And, you know, leave the phone off the hook so he can hear everything that's going on. Needless to say, that didn't last. He then started coming back up to my job and standing outside. Okay, I can't come in, but I'm going to stand outside and wait for her to get off. I still didn't see the signs or anything. After this, he started
because sometimes people think that stuff is cute. At first, you think, oh, like he cares about me. He's making sure I'm okay.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. I was one of those. I was like, oh my God, he loves me so much that he doesn't even want to be away from me. It got really uncute really fast, really fast. And, you know, the emotional abuse started. He started saying things to me like, you know, like, nobody cares about you. You know, after I'm isolated where nobody else comes around, nobody cares about you and me. You see, there's nobody else around but me. So nobody cares about you. So that's what you need to get in your head. Only I care. You know, he started becoming verbally abusive, and then the physical abuse came in. And I promise you, I can remember it like it was yesterday. I told him I wanted to go to the store, and I could not ever go anywhere by myself when I was dealing with this man. If we lived diagonally across from one another, I could see my place from his, and I couldn't even walk to my apartment from his apartment without him following me. So this particular night, I said I wanted to go to the store. He was like, okay, go ahead and come back, which was odd. And he didn't go with me. He said, come right back. So I went. I came back 15, 20 minutes tops. I get back to the apartment where he lived with his brother, sister-in-law, and their 2 twins who were 5 at the time. I knock on the door. He opens, he pulls the door open really aggressively, and he grabs me by my hair, and he drags me past his sister, his brother-in-law, and their twins, who were sitting there watching television. He dragged me into the room where he slept, and he began.
So
nobody said anything. Nobody got up.
So they just started to continue to eat their popcorn and watch their show like somebody wasn't just being dragged across the.
Exactly. Exactly. He took me into the bedroom. He shut the door and he began beating me. Now, mind you, he was a professional boxer. At the time, I was 120 pounds. And he beat me bloody. And when he finished beating me, he picked me up off the floor. He grabbed me by my hair and he picked me up and he turned me around to look at him. And he said to me, "You know, you're not leaving me, right?" Wow. And, you know, out of fear, I told him no. And he said, "Good, because if you do, this is what's going to happen." He took a gun and he put it up to my head and he pulled the trigger. And at that point, he began making Russian roulette a regular part of my life to keep me in fear. And
what do you mean? Wait, I know what Russian roulette is. I want you to explain that because that's deep. And that's what he used to control you pretty much.
To control me.
So
tell
people what Russian roulette is with the, you know, going around. I want you to tell them that. And you said he made it a part of the routine, a part of your life, a regular thing. So tell the people what Russian roulette is for those that don't know and how he made it a regular part of your relationship.
Right. Russian roulette is where, well, first of all, I've never seen a gun in real life other than on TV before that time. So he put it, Russian roulette is when you put they have a gun or you don't know if they have a bullet in the gun or not. And they click. He put it up to my head and he would click the gun and just click it, keep clicking it. And I don't know if it's a bullet. Luckily, it was never, I never got shot. Or to this day, honestly, I don't know if it was any bullets in it at all. But that's what he would do to me. And I was scared to death. I was scared to death. So what he would do, he would intimidate me with the gun. He kept the gun with him all the time. Even when we went out, he had the gun in a bag. And he would say to me, just in case, you know, he said he would he told me he would bring it with me, you know, just in case I show off or something like that. And so every
almost
time
like some of the parents do with a belt. I remember back in the day, I remember this lady said, "I'm not going to beat my kids, but just for them to know that I have a belt with me, keeps them in line, keeps them straight." So almost right.
Exactly. I mean, to the point where we would even go, we went called the Metro to Union Station. And
we're talking about DC. We're talking about
Washington, D.C. to Union Station. And we get on the bus. So he's happy one minute, then the next minute, just out of nowhere, I don't know where, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Everything is fine on the way there. We get there, we shop. On the way back, somewhere in between, you know, he got upset about something. And when he gets upset, especially in public, I say nothing because I don't want to trigger him because he will beat me in public. So this is what happened. We get off the bus. He starts walking ahead of me. And I say, I don't say anything. I'm just quiet because I don't want anything to happen. So this guy starts trying to follow me, trying to talk to me because he thinks I'm by myself. And he turns around. I'm telling the guy, "Please get away from me. Please, like, get away from me, please." He turns around and sees the guy and I talking. He runs back and he says something to the guy like, "Why are you in my girl's face?" Whatever. And the guy says, "Well, how am I supposed to know that that's your girl and you walking 10 feet ahead of her?" So he forgets about the guy because I'm ready to run because I already know what's getting ready to happen. I try to run. He grabs me. I had a box. I had a bag with a box with boots in it. And I'm not going to ever forget it. Now, place is full. This is a metro station outside. He grabs the bag from me, and he takes the bag, and he reaches back and hits me in my head with all his might with that shoebox. And I literally saw stars. And I had to shake it off. I shook it off, and then I ran. I ran to the guy in the booth, and I said to him, I said, please call the police. My boyfriend is beating me. And he runs up behind me.
He hit you
says,
with a bag. He hit you with a bag of shoes in a shoebox.
A boot, a pair of boots that were in a shoebox. Yes,
I'm talking about. At the train station.
Yes, and
okay.
No one did anything. Nobody helped me. I got to the booth, and I asked the guy, could he please call the police? He runs up behind me and says, oh, don't worry about her. She forgot to take her medication today.
Mm-hmm.
He tried to make him think I was crazy. I looked at him and I said, sir, if you don't call the police and something happens to me, you're going to be held accountable. He told him, he said, look, dude, if you're going to leave, you better leave. I'm calling the police. So he left, and he left me there. The guy allowed me to use his phone to call my aunt. My aunt beat the police there. My aunt took me, she took me home, and for a few days I did not see him. I was scared to death, because what he would do is he would break into my apartment. And every night when I came home from work, I would be afraid, scared to death. Like, I would open my door and just look around in each room to see if he was there. The third night I did it, and I opened my bedroom door, and he was there. He was on his knees naked, had candles lit around my room, and had his gun on my dresser where I could see it. Only thing I could think was, God, please take care of my family. Because he told me if I ever called the police, he was going to kill me. If I ever told anybody, he was going to kill me. If I told my family, he was not only going to kill me, but he was going to kill them too. So I'm thinking, I'm going to die tonight. That's all I could think was, I'm going to die. And I started praying. I did whatever he told me to do. I laid with him that night and did everything that he told me to do. I did not sleep. I prayed all night, and I asked God that night to please get me out of this situation alive. And if you do, I will do anything. And the next day he answered my prayers. I literally was sitting in his window. I just happened to be sitting. God placed me in his window. And like I said, I could see from his apartment to mine. I didn't have any visitors. When I say I was isolated, isolation is real in domestic violence. I was so isolated, no one came around. My cousins hadn't seen me in over a year. I look out my window and yes.
How old were you? And I don't want to cut you off, because I want you to continue to tell your story, but I really want to put this in context. How old were you, and how old was your then boyfriend?
I was 20. I want to say I was 25, 24, 25. I can't. 24, 25. And he was about 5 years older than I was. So, yeah.
Okay. I want you to, I just want to really, because there's a lot of 20-something-year-olds going through this. There are a lot of 30-something-year-olds, 40, etc. But this is a crucial time in a woman's life in her 20s. You're still young. You're still growing. You're really trying to discover what love is. Love is kind of distorted depending on, who you encounter and the things that they say. You're still vulnerable. So I just really want to put this in context, because there are a lot of 20-somethings and a lot of even younger now that are going through this.
Definitely.
So I really wanted to just touch on that. But go ahead, continue, Renee.
Well, I happened to look out. I was sitting in his window, and I looked out, and I saw two females standing at my door. And he was in the bathroom. So I was like, oh my God. And I said, I'm going to run to my apartment, and I'll be right back. Again, which was unusual, he normally went with me. This particular day, again, he said, go ahead and come right back. When I say I ran like a freed slave, I ran. By the time I got over there, they weren't at my door. They were in the car pulling off. I chased the car down. I banged on the window.
And at this time, it had been a year and a half since you seen your.
Yes.
Wow.
And it was two of my cousins. I said, don't ask any questions. Grab anything that looks important and run. We run into my apartment. We each grabbed a handful of my clothing, and I left everything and I ran for my life. And I didn't look back. But when I left, I didn't leave alone. I eventually found out I was pregnant by my abuser. I now have a beautiful 27-year-old daughter by my abuser. And I also now suffer from epilepsy, grand mal epileptic seizures due to blows to my head at the hands of my abuser. But I'm here, I'm alive, and you know, that's what's important. And I know it's not for nothing, because I had 6 seizures in a row, and I was flown away to Baltimore shock trauma, and they actually lost me on the helicopter. And I always, and I always say that God did not blow air back into my lungs for me to be quiet. You know, he didn't blow air back into my lungs for me to just sit back and keep what happened to me to myself.
That's
and
right.
He told me, you need to do something. You have to say something. And that's when my mission began.
Wow. So I want to, and I thank you for sharing your story and continuously sharing your story for those that need to hear it and those that are unaware that they need to hear it, because even if they haven't gone through it, people have daughters, and your daughter could be a possibility that your daughter goes through something like this. So it's never removed far from us, and we can't just say, well, it happened to us, that's her story, because you don't know whose story that's going to be, and that's close to you, like a child. So how long did that relationship last? And then I want to ask you a follow-up question.
It was about 1.5 years. It was about 1.5 years. So yeah, that was it.
And you never had epilepsy before that?
No, never. Never had any health issues before that.
Wow. So when he beat you, he beat you in the head?
Yes. He punched me in the head. He kicked me in the head with boots. I had traumatic brain injury. I have PTSD. Wow. I suffer from PTSD, you know, and you know, a lot of other things. But what I definitely want to say is I go to therapy also. And it was definitely needed, not just even before that situation, I needed therapy. But I didn't, you know, I pushed everything that happened to me throughout my whole life. I just pushed it down and suppressed it and never talked. I hid it, and I fixed myself up real pretty and dressed up real pretty, and I camouflaged it because I didn't want anybody to know my secrets.
Like many women.
Right. I mean, talking about from a little girl, like I can't let anybody know my secrets because, you know, whatever. I had to pretend and just hide everything. And most of my life, that's what my life consisted of, me hiding until I finally was awakened, you know, and I decided to finally speak out.
And I want to talk about that in just a moment after I ask these questions. I want to talk about wearing that mask and holding on to those secrets. But before I get into that, I want to talk about, you said you have a daughter by your abuser. When was it that you decided to share the story of your abuser to your daughter's father? How old was she when you began to tell her your history? And this is a part of mom's story. And this is your father. How old was your daughter when you told her your truth?
My daughter was 18 by the time she finally found out, because my thing in my mind was, I never said anything negative about her father to her, because how is that going to be beneficial to my daughter? So, and she didn't ask to be here. So I was not going to put that on her. And I remember myself as a child, my dad was abusive. And though my dad was abusive, he was a horrible husband, but he was a great father. And some people look at me and say, oh my God, how could you love him? And he beat your mom. You know, it was like, as a child, you can't, you know, like, you like,
they're just your parent. They're your parent.
They're still your parent, both of them. So I took that from childhood, and I used it with my child. And I remember how I felt when people said negative things about my father, despite the fact that he was a good father to me. I wanted my mother to run and leave him and get us away. He was bad for you, Mom. You needed to be away from him. I want you to be away from him. But he was good to us. And she finally did it. So I took that and I used that in my life with my daughter as well. So when my daughter, throughout her life, I told her about her dad, nothing negative. But when she turned 10, she asked me, I asked her what she wanted for her birthday, and she said, I want to meet my dad.
Oh, so she never met him. And I think
she had never met him.
I would skip over that because I wanted you to share that. She never met her dad.
She had never met him.
So she was unaware of what was going on with her dad. And I want to make it clear, at that point, Renee hadn't seen him again.
No.
So it wasn't, I know some of you are probably thinking, well, what did that do to Renee when she had to see him when he was raising the daughter and they co-parented? So I'm glad that you talked about that. So continue.
She asked me, she told me that she wanted for her birthday was to meet her dad. And in my mind, I'm saying, oh no, like I knew this day was going to come, but I'm like, okay, Lord, I really need you now. So
and did he know you were pregnant when you left?
No. When I ran, I didn't even know I was pregnant when I left. So what I did was I prayed about it and I said, okay, I contacted his sister. I still had her information. So I contacted her and I told her, that I told her about her niece and everything and that she wanted to meet her dad. And I told her I was afraid because she saw, and as far as them watching me get beat, this is the same system that he drug me through. I come to find out they were afraid of him too, because he was not only abusive to me and other women, he was abusive to his family as well.
Oh, I believe that.
So they were afraid. They were afraid. That's why they didn't get involved. But she told me, oh my God, that's such a blessing. He has turned his life around. He gave his life to God. After my mother passed away, and we look forward to meeting her and everything. So I started off bringing her to meet her aunt and her cousins and everything. And then gradually I was scared to death. But I prayed about it and I asked God to just cover me and everything. And I wasn't going to keep her from her father because, like I said, he was a good father. He had other children other than mine. So he finally came to meet her and everything. And he ended up, she fell in love with him. I stayed around. Now, mind you, the whole time I'm around this man, I'm still scared. Regardless of how nice he is acting.
Because of the PTSD.
Yeah, I'm still afraid. And I don't want to leave my daughter because she doesn't know him. But I'm talking about time has passed, like a lot of time. And I was not going to leave her there until she felt comfortable.
Right.
So she would go to her aunt's house and he would come visit. I wouldn't leave him with her. I wouldn't leave her with him. She would stay at her aunt's and he would come visit. And she got to know him while she was around over there with her family. Right. So, but when she finally said, Mommy, I'm fine. You don't have to stay, Mommy. You don't have to stay.
Oh, yeah.
That's when I was like, okay. So the years went by. She was going to visit him. Now she's 18 now. She goes to visit him. He's living with this woman and everything. And she sees him beat the woman.
Wow.
Not only her, but my niece as well.
Wow. Wow.
And she says to me, Mommy, I'm never going over there again. I don't care. He did this, that, and the other to her. And Mommy, he was talking about you. And I didn't want to tell you before, but every time I go around him, he has something smart to say about you. And I'm like, and I tell him, that's not my mom. You don't know my mommy like that because that's not true. Or whatever. That made me angry. Because first of all, never have I ever said anything negative.
Right, because she didn't even know.
She didn't even know
the relationship dynamic.
Exactly. At this point,
yeah.
Right. At this point, I'm livid. I call him and I say to him, why were you saying negative things to my daughter about me? What is that about? That ugly monster reared his head again. If he was near me, I could hear it through the phone. He probably would have, did what he does. I have him on speakerphone, and he says, I got so angry because that I heard that beast come out, and it triggered me. And I said to him, well, while you were talking about me, did you tell your daughter that you're the reason I have epilepsy now? It slipped out. I was devastated.
Wow.
I was devastated because I did not want to hurt my daughter, and that was not the way I wanted her to find out. I didn't, want her to find out that way. So he says, this is what he says. My daughter said, what did you say, mommy? And I was like, oh my God, no, I'm upset now because she heard it. Then she said, did you say, he's the reason you have epilepsy. So you mean to tell me that we almost died coming through the Baltimore tunnel because you were going into a seizure and had to do 100 miles an hour to get us to safety? And I didn't watch you all my life have seizures, and it's because of him?
Wow.
And she said, I hate him.
Wow.
I don't care what you say, mommy. You can talk me into it. I hate him. And she walked out of the room. Do you know this man had the audacity to say to me, see what you did? Still blaming me.
Wow. And
see
still controlling and still being
yeah.
Manipulating the situation.
Right. That was when my daughter found out. And I pulled her up. I hung up with him, and I pulled my daughter up, and I sat down with her, and I said to her, listen to me. Has your father ever hit you? No, ma'am. Has he ever yelled at you, screamed at you, made you feel any type of way? No, ma'am. I chose your father. You didn't choose him. So I chose the wrong person. I'm no longer with your father. That's still your father. And until he puts his hands on you or treats you mean or does anything like that, that's still your dad. And she's like, mommy, I get that and everything, but I can't. And I said, I'm not going to force you, but I just need you to understand that that's still your father, regardless.
Yeah.
That's still your dad. And it took years.
And that's very mature of you. And that's very, motherly of you. Because as a mom, we want to protect our children at any cost. And sometimes the cost is us, our experiences, our feelings towards that individual. But that just showed, the love of a mother to protect her child at any cost.
Right. And at that point, it took many years for her to even talk to him again. And she eventually did. I think he got sick. Something happened. And she reached out to him. But she's 27 now, like I said, and she has a child of her own. She has a 6-year-old daughter. She just got engaged 2 weeks ago and everything. She just moved to Atlanta, like I said, and she's doing good. I mean, she's doing good for herself, and she's happy. And, she still contacts him. He contacts her, and she talks to him when she feels like it. Because she's grown now. And he sometimes, when he can't get hold of her, has the nerve to try to call my phone to say, like, why is my daughter not, and most of the time I don't even bother to answer. I just let the answer machine pick up. But but that's how she found out. That's how she found out.
And thank you for sharing that with us, because that's so important. Just to talk about mothers. And I always say Mother's Day is every day. I know it's May, but it's every day. And that's, real ones. I'm talking about real mothers who protect their cubs at any cost. Sometimes, again, the cost is us. So you talked about wearing a mask in a sense. You pretended everything was okay. Nobody knew the pain and the hurt that you were going through. Why do you think that is, especially in our community, where we just make it seem like we're super women, we're okay, ain't nothing wrong, I'm keep on keeping on, I don't care what happened to me, and you wear this mask of strength. When you're suffering inside, why do you think that as women, and especially in the Black community, why do you think we do that?
Well, I know for myself, I did it because, for one, it's embarrassing. You know, it's embarrassing. You don't want people in your business, for one, but, you know, you definitely don't want people to know that, you know, type of stuff. And I covered it up with makeup. I covered it up with, you know, oh, your hair is so sharp. I like those.
You took away from it. You took away from the bruising so they can pay attention on the hair or nails or a lot of folks do that.
That's exactly what I did for many years. Like, I did that for a long time, but
so they couldn't see the sadness also in your eyes.
No, they couldn't see it. No, as far as my childhood and everything, nobody saw anything. And I, you know, I do a lot now. I do parenting classes at the University of Maryland, you know, to speak from the perspective of a child that was abused, sexually abused and everything. And I tell the people in my class, pay attention to your children. Pay close attention to, nobody paid attention. Nobody paid attention. If at least one person had paid attention to me as a child, they would have known that it something was off, because I went from being this quiet little girl who played with dolls to I totally was different. I felt the difference in myself. I started dressing provocatively, wearing tight clothing and everything. So, I mean, like, the main thing for me is I definitely needed to say this was I need people to pay attention to their children. And, you know, because if you don't, somebody will, and it may not be in the way that you like. So, but yeah.
So how do you think that your upbringing and the molestation shaped how you looked at men and how you chose the men that you selected over the years? And we're not going to talk about your amazing husband of 1,000 years. We're going to talk about him later because we want to celebrate the good ones. You know, I think it's important to say that. But how do you think that shaped you in choosing that mate? Those type of guys outside of your husband?
Well, it definitely, I felt like I had a sign on my back that says, I'll take all the bums. And I mean, like, it just lit.
Like, you can live with me.
Yeah, like, hey. But I mean, like, I was really bad. I was really bad at picking them. I did a bad job. But at the same time, you know, when you grow up, when you grow up seeing that in that type of environment, even, and that's including with my father. My father, like I said, was a great dad, but my father was also an abuser and a womanizer as well. And I grew up seeing that, you know, so we think it's normal, you know, when we see things like that, you know, like, it's okay. Mom stayed with him. And I saw the lady coming out of their bedroom when she was in the hospital. You know, Mom still stayed with him all those years. So maybe that's what's supposed to happen. So, you know, and then you get older and you realize, you know, that this is not normal behavior, and, you know, you want better for yourself. And when I say I try to be everything, no disrespect to my mother. I love my mother. She's wonderful. And it's no handbook on how to be a mother. You know, she did the best that she could with what she had. Her mother died when she was 15. So my mother was an excellent mother. She just, you know, she just didn't know, you know, but I try to do everything the opposite of what she did. I try to make sure I didn't find anybody like that. I try to, when I did meet someone, I was so overprotective of my children. You couldn't blink in their direction without me you being suspect. Like, you know, I was too over. I can't even say too overprotective. At some point, most of my kids' friends felt sorry for them. They were like, "Oh God, I feel so sorry. I feel so sorry. You can't even come off the block. You can't do anything." And it, I mean,
understandably so, because if you've been abused or molested, then you're going to be ultra and extra protective of your children. Because of course, you don't want the same things to happen to them. And I find that to be true in a lot of cases. If a person has been abused or molested or raped or what have you, you grab that extra hold of your children because you don't want anyone to violate them.
Definitely not. And the thought of it is like, the thought of it is like really, it's painful to even think of it. I don't want anybody's child to go through what I went
That's
through.
right.
I don't want anybody,
That's
period,
right.
to go through what I went through. And that's exactly why I do what I do. That's why since I started sharing my story, I will not shut up. I will not stop talking. I will not, stop advocating against sexual assault and domestic violence. I just won't. I can't. It's not even about me anymore.
Yeah. So we talked about Mildred Muhammad earlier, and I think it's important for those that don't know who she is, and how she inspired you to get on the stage to talk about it. So if you can share that with our audience.
Okay. Mildred is our sister. She's definitely somebody that's very dear to my heart, and she has been there with me for many years to walk me through this. Like when my first speaking engagement, when I first spoke publicly, I was so nervous. I spoke at the College of Southern Maryland in La Plata for it was a walk that they had to try to make money for an abusive, a shelter that they were making out here called Gail's House. And I was so nervous that I felt like I wanted to vomit. I just felt like I wanted to pass out, faint, vomit, everything at the same time. I was scared to death. So the young lady I was supposed to go first to speak, and she saw the fear in my eyes. So she snatched the microphone out of my hand and said, "Oh my gosh, she's so scared. I'll go." So she went, and when she was speaking, people were just like still walking around and talking over her, and I made me even more nervous. So when it finally got to, what I did was, Mildred came to my mind, and I called her while she was speaking. I called her and I said, "I'm scared to death. I'm getting ready to speak. What do you do when you're this nervous before you speak?" She said, "Bow your head." And she prayed with me. And she told me to ask, and she asked God to allow me to get across whatever it is that I wanted to get across to everyone there, and that it touched somebody before they left there. And you don't understand the type of peace that came over me after she prayed. When that girl handed me that microphone, it was like she handed me a baton, and I was getting ready to run a relay. Everybody was quiet when I started speaking. Where they were talking over her, everybody got quiet. It was, and the one thing I especially remember was it was 4 young girls there, and they came to me afterwards. But I remember them standing right there in front of me, crying as I was sharing my story. And I'm looking at them, and I'm sharing, and I'm talking to them, and I'm really talking to them because it's really touching me, because I don't want this to happen to you. So I'm really speaking to them, but everybody is focused and listening to me. So after I was done, everybody was applauding me and coming up to me, hugging me and crying, like everybody. And these young ladies in particular, they were like 12 in that age range. They came to me and told me that their parents gave them permission to come to that walk, and they saved their allowance money so they could donate it to that for that reason. And they were crying, and they were saying to me, "We're so sorry that happened to you." And of course, back then, you know me, I was a crybaby. So I was crying too. And I was like, "No, I just don't want this to happen to y'all. That's why,"
Wow.
And it was the most beautiful thing that I've ever done in my life. By that time, I had already spoken on radio shows and television shows, but I had never spoke publicly. I had never spoken.
You spoke at my conference, my women's conference.
Of course, yes. No, but that was after that.
Yeah,
that was
afterwards.
Yes, that was
and
after.
She is an amazing speaker, and she's effective when she speaks. I had a women's conference, Glean, Grow, Learn, Elevate, Admire, and Mentor. And she was amazing. And for some, I gave out certificates, and I was like, "I still have your certificate." I don't know how.
Well, I got room.
I just want to talk about
I got room back there for it. That's where all my stuff is.
All right. And I want to talk about your dedication about that, because I haven't forgotten that, and nor will I ever forget. She was sick.
I had just had a seizure. I had just had a seizure the day before. Yep.
Yep. She had a seizure the day before my conference. And my conference, it was pouring down, raining. It was kind of chilly. It was in May. Oh my God, it was the 13th of May. So that's what that was. And I was like, listen, she was like, no, I'm coming. Her husband was like, I don't know if you should go. She was like, I'm coming to speak to that group, whether it was one person or 50 people, she was coming. So I appreciate that. I really do. But that showed the sincerity of your heart and commitment to what you're doing. So I thank you. Sis, I thank you. I do. I thank you.
You're welcome.
And I will never forget that you were there for me. And she gets paid to speak. And I had amazing speakers come through, and didn't have to be for one dime. No. Because it was my first women's conference that I put on, and I did it by myself, and she donated her time. I'm not going to forget that ever. I'm not going to forget, because when I can pay you top dollar, I'm going to pay you top dollar. Trust me. I don't forget when somebody comes through for me.
No problem. I told you I was going to be there, so I was determined. I'm never going to forget that day. And it was awesome. Like, all the other speakers were just wonderful. It was really nice. It turned out really, really great.
Thank you. Thank you so much. But we talked about Mildred Muhammad, but I want you to tell the audience who she is and the significance of her. And I'll just give you a hint, the audience, the DC sniper. And we'll just marinate on that. And she's going to tell you who Mildred Muhammad is. And then this time is going quickly. All right. So quickly, if you can tell our audience who she is.
Mildred Muhammad is the wife of John Muhammad, who was a DC sniper. And she's now one of the top advocates and speakers in the United States. She really speaks nationally. I speak nationally, but she goes to China and everywhere else. But she is, she's great. And I actually am excited because I am the first and only recipient of hers. That she gave out an award, and I'm the first and only recipient of her award or whatever. But she is the DC sniper's wife, and she's doing a lot as far as domestic violence is concerned as well. I mean, she's just awesome. Yeah. And she's our sister.
And for those that don't know, he was on his way to kill her.
Yes.
So everyone else that he killed in the process, the DC sniper we're talking about.
Yeah.
Everybody else who lost their lives and who he killed, it was just to throw the police and the public off a little bit. But his ultimate goal was to get to her and to kill her. So he killed all of those other people, put everybody. Let me tell you something. When that took place, people were scared to get gas. I was getting gas running back in my car. And I don't know if I ever told you this, Renee, but the next stop was right there by my job. He was getting off exit 13. I'll never forget this. Exit 13, which is Frederick Road off of 695 in the Baltimore area, Catonsville. And he was getting off. That was on his list because remember when he was found, he had a list. And that elementary school right by my job was his next stop. And that's where we got gas and everything until they discovered him. But he had us all shook.
Yeah.
Ultimate goal was to kill his wife. So this is who Mildred Muhammad is. This is who Renee is talking about. This is her mentor. This is the one that gives her pep talks when she speaks. So that's powerful.
Yeah, it definitely is. And I'm thankful. I'm thankful for her because a lot of times when I felt, because we're human beings before we're anything else. And sometimes we feel like giving up, sometimes we get tired, but, I do believe in God and I pray all the time. And I know, like I said, that it's not about me anymore. And that's what keeps me going. Is knowing that it's not about me. It's about me trying to help to save other people's lives. because I remember the dark times. I remember me being in that dark place where, I hadn't talked about any of this to anybody. And then feeling the feeling that I had that day when I released all of that and shared it on my Facebook page and let everybody know from the age of 5 till that period what had happened to me. It was so freeing. So I don't want, I don't want anybody to go through what I went through, but if they have to go through it, just know that you can be okay and you can come out of it,
Yeah. And thank God. I mean, I can never do this show without mentioning God's name and really giving him the glory for not only me and having this platform to have people like you, but for you, to save you. And he saved you for a reason. And that was to really, like you said, once you discovered that voice and once you realized that, you realized that this is what you were going to do. You were going to advocate and you were going to go around telling your story to help other people.
Definitely.
So Renee, I thank you. But before I end, I want to celebrate your husband. Tell the people how long you've been married and tell the people what having a good man does for that body and soul.
My husband is a great man. And he raised my children, including my abuser's daughter. He's raised them, from the ages of 6, 5, and 2. Mm-hmm. And they're 34, 33, and get ready to be 27 now, 28. Mm-hmm. And we've been together for, our anniversary is May 11th. So we'll be married 24 years, May 11th. Mm.
Wonderful.
And together 26 years. So
yeah.
25.
So you see her. So you see her. You don't even have to say what he does to your mind, body, and soul, because after 26 years, look at the smile on her face.
Yeah.
So instead of love, the show Love After Lockup, there's love after abuse.
Yeah, that's definitely the truth. That is definitely the truth. There is love after abuse. Yeah. So don't ever think that that's the end, because of whatever you went through. There's always, better times on the other side.
Yes. Yep. And I was going to have you, and lastly, before we get on out of here and close this show, give that woman who is 24 years old the advice that you would have given yourself.
To any woman that's out there that hopefully, I pray that you don't go through what I went through, but I would have advised her to pay attention, to get to know, take your time. Get to know that person. Get to know his family. See how he treats his mother and, his family members. If I hadn't rushed into it, I would have known that he was abusive to his family as well. I would have known a lot more than I knew. And I could have avoided a lot of pain and suffering. So my main advice to anyone out there, really take your time and get to know a person. Don't rush into any relationship, because if you rush, you never know what you're going to end up with.
Yeah. So and thank you so much, Renee. Proceed, caution. Watch how they treat their mothers. Watch how they treat their family members. And most importantly, watch how that family member responds to that individual. And when you go out, I think it's important to watch how that individual treats strangers and people that can't do anything for them. Watch how they treat the waitress. Watch how they treat the doorman. Watch how they treat people, because that's a big indicator too that a lot of people ignore. So this was wonderful. Yeah, thank you, Renee, for joining Safety Net. I appreciate you abundantly. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
You are so welcome. And tell hubby I said hello. I met him at the conference, so tell him I said hello.
I sure will.
All right.
All righty.
All right. Thank you so much, everybody. You're welcome. Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning into the Safety Net. This is a place where my guests can share their truths. And Renee Michelle did just that. Don't allow abuse or anything that you've been through break you. It doesn't mean that you can't go on to live a happy and an abundant life, but you got to get through the pain. And the best way to get through the pain and to help your healing is to share your story. Because once you share your story, no one else can share it for you. It's almost as if they took the bullets out of the gun. So they don't have anything to hold over your head. When you tell your story, that's when the healing begins. Am I right, Renee?
Yes, you are. Exactly.
Thank you so much once again, everybody. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. Do me a favor. Do that right now. I'll wait. Please subscribe, like, and share. Thank you so much for tuning in. Remember, you are a star, so don't allow anyone to dim your shine. Keep shining. God bless and peace.
Bye.